Hi, my name is Meri Viano. I'm really excited to be with you today as the Associate Director and family member that has walked the walk with other families today. I'm representing the organization PAL, which stands for the Parent Professional Advocacy League, and we're very excited and grateful to the family members that are with us today. This fireside chat is like you're sitting in a living room with friends, family members, people in your community that have really gotten you through the walk and the journey. So we are going to start with some questions and really excited for all of you to hear from their perspective, what worked, didn't work, what was harmful or helpful, and also the solutions of what they believe the system, the state, and the culture needs to do to shift to do better for families. So Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you. As a grandmother that has supported a grandchild that entered the juvenile justice system, can you tell me what brought you here and what was your first introduction into juvenile justice?
My grandson's middle school principal decided that because he was being homeschooled, that it wasn't enough for him. And so they wanted me to send him to school, and I refused to. At that particular time, COVID was high. And they called me and told me that they were going to put a CRA on him and also call Department of Youth Services on me. And so that was my first introduction. And we went to court for the CRA. I didn't know much about it. I was a little scared. And I had a lawyer. I don't know if she had age, if she was retired or anything like that, but she didn't really explain much to me. So I felt I wanted to get the help that he needed. So I signed the papers. I don't even think I filled them in. I just literally signed them.
That really helped.
That leads, to the help that he needed.
That really helps, Elizabeth. And I know that you've been open to say that your grandchild does have some mental health and learning disabilities. So that must have felt even more complex of getting the papers pushed to sign.
Yes. I really was doing it not for him to receive help.
Thank you. So we're now going to go over to Antonio. And Antonio, I'm going to come over and ask you that same question. What brought you to the juvenile justice journey for yourself and your family?
So when I was in elementary school, I ended up having a close encounter with a police officer where I attempted to assault the police officer and was put in a jail cell for 4 hours. That led to a devastating cycle.
I really appreciate, mentioning that really hard, traumatic experience. I think that's, as a young person, imagine what that felt like. So really appreciate you stepping up and sharing that with us. Joanna, we're going to come over to you. In what was the first enter to the juvenile justice system from your standpoint in your family?
Yeah, I was introduced to a CRA because my son was having a lot of challenges, not just at home, but also the community and school. These challenges were due to his own mental health disability. I did have a lot of providers coming to my home. The providers came up with an idea that was like, to me, it was like the answer to all my prayers, because I was terrified with the way that things were going. And the answer to my prayers was to open a CRA.
It's really devastating, I think, as we've heard across, and where people want help for their children and often get pushed to court and not knowing what it is. So really appreciate all of you explaining kind of what your first step in journey was. We're going to come over to you, Joanna, to tell us what do you believe was helpful and what was harmful to your family? And then after you, we'll go to Antonio.
Well, my son was having a lot of struggles because of his disability, and I didn't think that this was going to provide the mental health services that he needed. Like, there was not going to be any support for my son or for myself in order to support him. And we shouldn't send children to court. I don't feel that that is the answer to the solution to that, a provider.
And would you say that there was anything that was helpful to you, or would you say that there wasn't?
I don't think there was anything like that was helpful to me when I started learning about like a CRA, it just seemed like it would do more harm. Because when I went to look at the court system, you know, when the cases were being heard, people that were there, the parents look just like me and the children look just like my child. So, and the providers look more like, and providers, lawyers, and even the judge look white. I didn't think that they were going to be able to help me, and that because they knew my culture, you know.
I really appreciate you elevating the culture and the disparities, right, that come from what and you understand and not understand. It's complicated in its own place with the language differences. Antonio, can you tell us from your perspective what was helpful or harmful that you would like our community to know so that they can do better?
So at least what was helpful was an understanding. Well, what was helpful was having a mother who was a super advocate with being able to help me understand what was going on, at least as much as she could. And that's about all I could say that was helpful. Harmful, I think the system is very destructive, especially when, like, for example, for me, when I was considered to be on the spectrum and I didn't understand my own emotions at a very young age. And so it was very misunderstood, and the system didn't understand that. They weren't trained in that. Police aren't intensely trained in considering that a person might have disabilities. So they treat you like everyone else, like you're supposed to know, or you have an idea, or there's people who really may not. And I feel that lawyers, police officers, judges need to kind of switch up their agenda and need to start being more intense with learning how to deal with people with disabilities and take that in consideration, and not just sending them to court or not just sending them to a DCF facility or a DYS facility.
Right. I really appreciate that. And I think also elevating the, different individuals with different diagnoses and or trauma or being on the spectrum. So really highlighting that is appreciated. Elizabeth, we're going to come over to you now on what you feel for your family was either helpful or harmful so that we can do better as a community in a Commonwealth.
What was helpful was the fact that I was able to trying to get my grandson diagnosed, trying to get him to the psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist, and try to figure out what was going on with him. I didn't have the money to get at all the resources and meet all the people that I met. What was harmful when I entered the court system was that he had picked up a few criminal charges. And even though the court understood that he had a mental health disabilities, they would love to punish him. It's all about punishment.
I appreciate that. And I know that's very hard to say, Elizabeth, is that it seems like, as the court doors opened, there was a new situation that came in, a new situation. And you've talked with PAL openly and honestly about it became, kind of a rolling ball of situations.
Yeah.
It never looked at him for what he was going through or the function of his behavior, but rather this kind of cycle that just got worse. So appreciate you mentioning that as well. Antonio, we're going to come over to you for our last question, and we're going to close up. What is one thing that you believe could be a possible solution to make things better? I know you talked a little bit about the needs to understanding mental health diagnoses, individuals on the spectrum, and a little bit on training. Do you want to tell us more about a solution that you feel that would help? And then we will go to Elizabeth and then Joanna.
Not allowing children to come to court, be in court, I feel like it's destructive to their mental health, and keeps them in a cycle. And I feel like there maybe should be in an intensive care unit or of some kind, that if a kid is getting a little out of hand, it's not just, oh, let's call DCF and wait until they get to us, or it's not just, let's bring them to court and send them to DYS. I feel like there should be a care unit that is readily available at any time
to deal with a crisis.
And the child could stay there for a few days until they're calmed down, like a green.
Appreciate it.
Quiet room.
Yep, I appreciate that, Antonio. Thank you. Elizabeth, we'll come over to you. What is one solution that you would love to see that is a possibility to make things better?
I would love to see just like they have programs for the children, but they don't have enough beds for the children. This particular state, Mass, that we live in, doesn't have the beds available for children. When my grandson did have a breakdown, I did call a program, Human Services or something like that, and they came out and they did put him in the hospital, but he stayed in the back room for 9 days.
So one of the
With
things
no bed.
One of the things that I know about you, Elizabeth, as a grandmother that's doing this grand work, right, of raising a grandchild and children, is that you're invested. You drive hours to see your kid, and sometimes it can
Yes,
be really complicated. So really
yes.
thinking about what families need is a highlight that I'm also hearing. So we've got about 2 minutes to wrap up. Joanna, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us one solution that you think, or a few solutions, and then I will close us out to our fireside chat. Joanna?
Definitely providers and staff that look like me, and to educate providers to exhaust all the resources in the community, especially getting parents connected to other parents that have lived experience. And please, we shouldn't be sending our children to court.
So I really appreciate, on behalf of PAL, but personally from both Candace and I, who work so hard to have families have different opportunities before getting to court. Each of you try every day to do the best of your ability in supporting your loved ones and or yourself. On behalf of PAL and on behalf of the conference that we're with today, we really appreciate your voice, your experience, and most of all, your willingness to be part of the solutions that are coming. PAL is a family organization that supports families. We meet parents where they're at. We connect directly to them on a peer-to-peer model, and we also connect to youth directly to youth in our program called Youth with Massachusetts. We are here for the win, and the win would be that all families, all children, all young people have the opportunities that they deserve, no matter what their race, their culture. Equality exists. So we know that we can do it. PAL is in your corner to make it better. On behalf of our organization and these amazing families and young people today, we thank you and look for us really advocating to make it better. Thank you.